Hello, and welcome to the training for the 2023 Mill Creek Alliance Water Quality Monitoring Program. I am your host, Audra Roberts. I am also your program coordinator, so if at any point you need anything, come looking for me. We will begin by introducing our organization and reviewing some of our big accomplishments from the past year. Then we'll dig into the water quality monitoring program specifically, why we monitor, where, how, and for what parameters. Then we'll review the roles of samplers and lab analysts and discuss safety considerations for all participants. The mission of the Mill Creek Alliance is to champion the resurgence of the Mill Creek watershed as a natural and community asset. We envision the watershed as a healthy ecosystem where people and communities can thrive. The organization has been around in some form since 1994, and our focus is on restoration, education, and recreation. We are a small nonprofit staffed by 4 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee, and an army of volunteers and interns. I encourage you to visit our website to learn more specifics about each of the staff members, the history of the Mill Creek, and all the ways that you can become involved in our organization.
Everyone, this is Dave Schmidt, the Executive Director of Mill Creek Alliance. Can't thank you enough for all of the work that you are doing to help us on our mission of protecting and restoring the Mill Creek and the watershed. The stream was once declared the most endangered river in an urban area in North America in 1997. And now, thanks to your work and the work of MCA and many partners, it is well on its way to recovery and amazing things are happening. Just to give you a quick idea of some of the things that we were able to accomplish in 2022. In regard to stream restoration, it was one of our biggest years ever. We have 3 ongoing low-head dam mitigation projects, as well as several others in development. Those are important because as the water quality has improved in the stream, which you guys monitor, fish and turtles and other critters are repopulating the stream rapidly, but these low-head dams are barriers which prevent them from fully repopulating the watershed. So we have whittled these down from 25 at one point down to about 6, and by the end of the coming summer, we'll have it down to about 4. So that's a really big, important step. We also have major stream restoration work going on Sharon Creek up into Sharon Woods. We have raised over $1.5 million to do that work in collaboration with Great Parks and many others to both restore the stream and allow the Mill Creek Greenway Bike Trail to proceed up Sharon Creek to Sharon Woods. Our education program is going gangbusters also. This past year we worked with hundreds of students to get them out into nature. We don't just do classroom education. We like to get people out to the creek in different places in the watershed, do macroinvertebrate sampling and water chemistry, and just introduce them many times for the first time to the outdoors. Many of the youth we work with haven't had an opportunity to do much of anything in the outdoors before. This past summer we had a pilot program for the first time ever, our Makatiwa Anglers program, where we work with youth from the watershed and teach them how to fish. Happily, there are now many fish and great fishing spots in Mill Creek. And so we taught both fly fishing and regular rod and reel fishing to a bunch of Cincinnati youth. And it was a huge hit, and we're going to continue that in the coming summer. In the area of recreation, so much going on in collaboration with our great friends at the Mill Creek Yacht Club. We do a lot of public paddles and introduce hundreds of new people to the stream every year. And it really is a unique experience, and I hope we get a chance to get you guys out on the stream with us. It really does give you a sense of the amazing comeback that the stream has made when you see it from the water level. We also do birding trips. We're working hard on expanding the Mill Creek Greenway Bike Trail. Some of it has already been built, but we want to take it from where it currently ends in South Cumminsville all the way down to the Ohio River, and then tie it into some suburban trail loops called the Triangle Trail to the north. So an amazing amount of work going on trails along the Mill Creek Greenway. We're also doing some birding programs now. There are some amazing birding spots in the Mill Creek and in the Mill Creek watershed. Guys, that's just like the 30,000-foot view of everything that's going on at the Mill Creek Alliance. There's so much more. You can take a look at our website, and hopefully I get to meet you all in person and we can talk more about it. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
As you can see, water quality really is at the heart of what we do. The data that we generate supplements the data used by organizations like the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Metropolitan Sewer District, Butler County Water and Sewer, and the Midwest Biodiversity Institute. The truths that we reveal help us take action to meet Clean Water Act standards by directing how our water and surrounding land is managed and which restoration projects to take on. There's also a huge educational benefit to program participants in the local community by providing hands-on opportunities to learn about our environment. The Mill Creek Alliance has been participating in water quality monitoring since 2013. Yes! This is our 10-year anniversary. We've grown not only in the number of sites that we sample, but also in the number of volunteers that we have participating, and in the variety of water quality tests we perform. In 2022, we had 78 samplers working in the field, 23 analysts in the lab, and 12 of those people did both tasks. As in the past, we will sample on the second Saturday of every month from March to November. Samplers collect water samples at each of our 57 sampling sites and take field observations via field data sheets and through the Field Maps app. Between our team in the field and our team in the lab, we analyze those samples for 10 different water quality parameters. The data we generate is made available on the Mill Creek Alliance website and is also presented at the annual State of the Mill Creek Address. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are not alone in our testing efforts. Rivers Unlimited runs a similar program that monitors the lower Great Miami River to our west. Another similar organization has been revived to monitor the Little Miami River to our east. And the Butler County Stream Team monitors the waters to the north. The Great Miami and Little Miami River folks perform sampling and analysis on the same days and in the same ways that we do, making Southwest Ohio unique in terms of the scope of volunteer data collection. So what do we test for and why? Everything you see here plays a critical role in the health of our water. Phosphate and nitrate naturally occur in environmental waters and are essential to aquatic life. However, when their levels increase due to man-made activity, the effects are definitely detrimental. Conductivity is an indirect measure of total dissolved salts in our water. Obviously, this is supposed to be a freshwater environment, so salt content should be low. Unfortunately, road salts that we put on our roads in the wintertime have contributed to a steady increase in conductivity, not just here, but a lot of places around the country. And this is of increasing concern for the health of our inland waterways. Turbidity is an indicator of the clarity of our water, which has a huge impact on plant growth, for better or for worse. pH is a measure of how acidic or basic the water is. Our creek is a little on the basic side, usually between 7 and 8 on the pH scale. Coliform bacteria, and specifically E. coli, are normally found in the digestive tracts of warm-blooded animals, including ourselves, and can be released through our waste. When coliforms contaminate the environment in large numbers, they present a human health hazard. Optical brighteners are the chemicals in your laundry detergent that make your whites whiter and your brights brighter. They are not harmful in and of themselves and are effectively removed by wastewater treatment plants. But the fact that we can find them in our water samples is an indicator that untreated sewage has entered the waterway. The amount of chlorophyll in a sample directly relates to the amount of algae and plant matter present in our water. You want the right amount of plants in your creek. New this year is an increased focus on temperature. Temperature is a critical parameter for aquatic life, And a recent report released by the Midwest Biodiversity Institute revealed that an increase in temperature has occurred over the past several years, and this could have serious implications for aquatic life in our creek. The big takeaway from all of this is that each of these parameters has an effect on the others, so it's very important for all of them to be at healthy levels.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace and I served as the 2022 Water Quality Monitoring Program's Lab Leader. In this slide, I am going to go through what's new in 2023, and then later on in the presentation, I'll talk you through the ArcGIS Field Maps app. So speaking of that MBI report that Audra mentioned, it is available for your reading pleasure on our website. It contains a very detailed assessment of the health of Mill Creek using data that perhaps some of you may have generated back in 2021. One of the key takeaways from the report was that there was an overall increase in temperature. As a result, water samplers will be better equipped to collect temperature data in the field going forward. This will be done either through the use of Ecotesters or by lab-grade thermometers. Some other new items for 2023 include a more robust online training program for both samplers and lab analysts, a Level 2 Water Quality Credible Data Collector training for anyone who is interested, which we'll have more information about to come, and an updated Google map for volunteers to use for directions to field sampling sites. The Google map is available on our website for field volunteers to use. Once you open the map, click on the upside-down arrow on the left side of the screen to open a menu of all of the sampling sites. Then, select the site you would like to get directions to. Once the site has been selected, you can click on the diamond-shaped symbol in the top right corner of the side panel to get directions to this location.
Let's talk now about the roles and responsibilities of volunteers in our program. Let's start with the water samplers. The most important part of being a water sampler is good communication with both the program coordinator and with your sampling team. This ensures that samples will be collected on schedule and that information can be relayed quickly in the event of an emergency. This is particularly important for team captains, as you are our point people for communication, operation, training, and helping everything go smoothly. At the beginning of the season, team captains are responsible for picking up your team's sample cooler. Team captains are responsible for maintaining the cooler's contents and seeing that consumable items are replenished. Your cooler should contain large and small sample bottles for each of your sites, an ice pack to help keep your samples cold. Be sure to freeze your ice pack prior to each event. Keeping samples cold helps maintain the sample's chemical integrity. Field data sheets for each site. A paper copy of the form is mandated by our Quality Assurance Program Plan. Should you choose to do so, this information should also be entered into the Field Maps app, which we will discuss later. Contact information for each member of your team and for MCA staff. This helps with scheduling and emergencies. An Ecotester pH meter, user directions for that meter, pH buffer solution for calibration, deionized water for rinsing, and electrode storage solution for when the meter is not in use. In addition to or instead of these items, you may also have a thermometer, a drying cloth, disposable nitrile gloves and safety vests, hand sanitizer, and for teams who are collecting samples off bridges, you will be supplied with a sampling bucket and a rope. While participating in this program, your safety is always our top priority. Always use your best judgment and don't do anything that would obviously put your safety at risk. You are more important than the water sample. For this reason, it is important to work in teams of 2 people or more so that someone is always available to call for help if needed. Furthermore, always have a cell phone, preferably waterproof, in the event that you need to make an emergency phone call. It's important to get to know your team members. You should know if they have health issues or allergies that could affect their abilities in the field. For example, if someone is allergic to bees, you should discuss the use of an EpiPen in the event of an emergency. Always dress for the weather and streamside conditions, and especially wear appropriate footwear. Remember, the goal is to stay dry and avoid direct contact with the water. it's safest to assume that the water is contaminated with something that could be a hazard to your health. Wear bright colors and the safety vest provided so that you are highly visible, especially if you're at the side of the road or sampling from a bridge. If you're using a bucket to help you collect the sample, you should use the rope provided to tie off the bucket to a fixed source. You never know how strong the water current might be. We wouldn't want you to lose the bucket, or worse, yank your arm out of its socket while trying to collect a water sample. Always park your vehicle in a safe place with public access. You should never need to trespass or enter private property. If you find yourself interacting with members of the community, wearing your safety vest and carrying some Mill Creek Alliance print materials can help legitimize your presence and your sampling activities. Most of us are pretty outdoorsy. Always keep an eye out for and avoid poison ivy, poison oak, insect nests, and wild animals. A note about gloves. Please wear them. I know that going through disposable gloves feels wasteful to the environmentalist in all of us. However, it is important to remember that most of our sites experience high coliform bacterial counts, not to mention what pathogens and pollutants may be present in the water that we don't test for. The gloves protect you, and the gloves protect your water sample from cross-contamination with other sites. It is preferred that you use a new pair of gloves for each site. If you find yourself without gloves, make sure to wash any exposed skin thoroughly with soap and water. Definitely don't have any hand-to-face contact until you do so. When you collect your water sample, make sure you are using the correct bottle for your sample site. Verify that the number on the lid matches the number on the bottle. Remember to collect one large and one small sample for each site. Some sites will have field duplicates. Those bottles will be marked with the site number and the letter D. In the case of field duplicates, you will ultimately collect 4 bottles worth of sample from the same site. The field data form is a mandatory part of our quality assurance program plan. You should have one completed field data sheet for each site. Please complete the form to the best of your ability. This includes date, site number, site name, time of collection, and the samplers involved with the collection. Please don't assume that MCA staff knows the specifics of your sample collection. The form should be pretty self-explanatory, but let's review. Start by reporting the weather conditions as accurately as possible. You can refer to local weather agencies for specifics on precipitation if needed. For watercolor, try to report the color of the water specifically, not the color of the sediment or vegetation from the creek bottom. For items such as odor, depth, flow, surface appearance, and algae presence, use your best observational judgment and past experience with the site to report your findings. Know what kind of discharge pipes are present at your site, and note whether or not they are flowing. When it comes to bank stability and erosion, record your observations compared to previous experience. If something extreme is happening that affects your ability to reach your sample site, please also reach out to MCA staff directly so that we can address the situation with urgency. If you have an Ecotester for pH measurements, please note any issues with its operation. Take 2 pH and 2 temperature readings at each site. Again, if you document anything of urgent importance, please relay this information directly to MCA staff so that we may address it. Field data sheets are not always processed immediately, and we wouldn't want to miss anything important or time-sensitive regarding your site. In the world of water quality analysis, the sample is king. Remember that what you present to the lab should be the most accurate representation of your site as possible. Do what you can to avoid contaminating the sample. This means wearing gloves, not only for your safety, but also for the integrity of the water sample. The bottles have been washed and prepared for your use. Do not touch the inside of the bottle or the underside of the cap. Rinse all sampling equipment, including the bucket if used, thoroughly, preferably 3 times, with the site water before collecting your sample. Avoid any sediment, plant matter, or debris. My cardinal rule, when in doubt, dump it out and get another sample. For continuity's sake, always sample in the same sample location every month. When you collect the sample, leave a bit of space at the top of the bottle, then cap the sample and place it in the cooler for transport. Keeping the sample cool helps maintain the chemical integrity of the sample. As soon as you remove the sample from its source, it will start to change chemically. Keeping the sample cool slows this process. You should aim to deliver the samples to the lab as soon as possible for this reason. When sampling from a stream, be dressed and equipped to collect your sample in flowing water from the center of the stream. Avoid shallow areas and stream banks if possible. It is important to always stand downstream of where you collect the sample. The water should be moving towards you. You want to avoid kicking up the bottom and disturbing sediment and plant life. Don't collect water from a disturbed area. When rinsing your equipment prior to use, do so downstream of where you intend to collect your sample. In the event of drought conditions with low or stagnant water, still collect a sample if possible, but please note such conditions on your field data sheet and inform lab staff when dropping off your samples. All of the same rules apply for collecting samples with a bucket. Remember to tie off your bucket for safety. And remember to rinse out that bucket 3 times in addition to rinsing your sample bottles and caps. We hope you didn't forget your sample bottles because they have been prepared specifically for your use. But if you do need a temporary alternative, new clean Ziploc bags or repurposed water bottles are preferable. Bottles that contain soft drinks or other substances are not recommended, as the chemicals in these liquids have likely leached into the walls of your container and could contaminate the sample. Once you have safely collected all of your samples, deliver them to the lab for analysis. Please deliver samples no later than 10:30 a.m. Once you arrive at the lab, you are required by our Quality Assurance Program Plan to complete the Chain of Custody form. This is a way of documenting the integrity of the samples collected. If you've been wondering what a Quality Assurance Program Plan, or QAP, is, it is a document approved by and on file with the Ohio EPA that describes in detail how our program operates. When we complete our sampling and analysis tasks according to our QAP, it ensures that our resulting data is of a specific level of quality and can be relied upon to be accurate for specific government tasks. Let's take a moment to review the use of the Ecotesters. Ecotesters can be used to collect both pH and temperature data in the field. They are delicate analytical tools and should be treated as such. The glass electrode bulb at the end of the meter must always stay moist. You can use the solutions provided, tap water, or even sample water to accomplish this. Just never store your electrode in the deionized water that is provided for rinsing, as this is bad for the electrode and could lead to instrument failure. You should calibrate the Ecotester prior to each sampling event to help maintain accuracy. To calibrate the tester, press the power button to turn the tester on. Rinse the probe end thoroughly with the DI water provided, shake off to dry, then submerge the probe end in pH 7 buffer provided. Make sure that the electrode bulb is completely submerged in the buffer solution. If it helps you to see what you're doing, you can clean and dry the storage cap, then pour the buffer solution into the cap and use this to calibrate the electrode. Allow the electrode to sit in the pH 7 buffer solution for a few moments, then press the Cal Escape button 1 time. Keep the electrode in the buffer solution. The meter will read the buffer solution, and then it will say done when the calibration is complete, then return to normal operation. You do not need to press any other buttons. If the meter gives an error during calibration, return the meter to the program coordinator or lab leader to perform more thorough maintenance. When the meter is not in use, keep the probe end moist with the electrode storage solution provided. It helps to store the tester upright to prevent leaks from the cap. A small bit of cotton ball in the storage cup can help maintain moisture in the cap. Let's switch our focus to the lab volunteers, who pick up where the samplers leave off. Lab analysis occurs on sampling Saturdays between 10:30 a.m. and approximately 3:00 p.m., or however long it takes to complete the work. Analysts are welcome to arrive as early as 10 a.m., as some samplers tend to drop off their samples early. There are 7 different workstations in the lab. Some of them operate better with 2 or even 3 volunteers. For that reason, we prefer to have 8 to 10 volunteers for every Saturday event. Analysts are encouraged to indicate their intention to work on the lab volunteer availability document available on our website so that lab staff can plan for the day. Because the coliform tests need to incubate for 24 hours before they are counted, 2 or 3 volunteers are also required each Sunday of event weekend. These volunteers read and record the results of the coliform tests, which takes about 2 hours. While lab experience is helpful for any of these activities, it is not mandatory. Analysts have access to lab training materials on the website, and the standard operating procedures are in the lab, along with on-site training. Much like the samplers in the field, analysts are expected to make safety their #1 priority. So let me ask, who is the person most responsible for your safety? You are. All analysts will be given a safety tour of the lab so that they know where all of the personal protective equipment, first aid equipment, and the right to know station is located. Volunteers are expected to wear the gloves, goggles, and masks provided. When working with the water samples, please remember that the sample is still king. Treat the samples the same way in the lab as was done in the field. Take care not to contaminate the samples. Do not touch the insides of the bottles or the undersides of the lids. Remember that water only comes out of the sample bottle. Water is never poured back into the sample bottle. When using pipettes, use a new, clean pipette tip for every sample. Water samples for most tests will come from the large bottles. The small sample bottles are for coliform testing only. Lab work can be very technical. Always ask for help if you need it. If a data result doesn't look right to you, it's probably not. As with samplers in the field collecting good water samples, when in doubt, dump it out and perform a new test. When all the testing is complete, all samples and spent chemicals should be poured down the lab drain.
The next portion of this presentation is all about ArcGIS Field Maps. ArcGIS Field Maps is an app that is downloaded onto your smartphone and allows you to input data into an online map while in the field. As a result, we can use this map to track field data across all of our sites over time. This app is available for free to download in your phone's app store by searching for ArcGIS Field Maps. If you have previously installed the app, make sure that you are logged in using the correct login information. The username should be public mcwcc and the password should be millcreek1. In addition, the following instructions assume that you will have an internet connection while in the field. If you don't have an internet connection in the field, or if you run into any trouble at all or make a mistake when using the Field Maps app, make a note on your data form and a GIS specialist will review and modify the Field Maps entry. This slide explains how to upload pictures you take when out in the field. One important note to make is that the app sometimes will not let you upload photos. If you run into any difficulties, please email any pictures taken to Audra Roberts at aroberts@themillcreekalliance.org. In addition, when taking photos, make sure to photograph the exact area that you are taking samples from. This will ensure that photos most accurately represent our sampling sites. When taking photos, also make sure to take 4 photos per site. Take 1 upstream, 1 downstream, 1 showing the left bank of the site, and 1 showing the right bank of the site. To upload the photo, once you're in the app, click on your sampling site. More information on logging into the app and finding your site will be covered in further detail in the following slides. Scroll down and select Collect Here, then either choose to take a photo or attach a photo you already took. Repeat this process for each of the 4 photos. Make sure to hit Submit once you are done. Now we will learn how to upload field data to the Field Maps app on an iOS iPhone. While the process is very similar for Android phones, make sure to follow the tutorial based on your specific smartphone, as the images provided for each tutorial match the interface of each specific smartphone. To begin, once you are logged in, you will be redirected to a page that shows all of the Mill Creek Alliance's ArcGIS maps. As a volunteer, you should choose the Mill Creek Water Sampling Map. Once this map has been chosen, an alert will pop up asking you to choose your location preferences. Since it will be easier to locate your site on the map if your location is taken into account, it is recommended to select the Allow While Using App option. Location preferences can always be modified at a later date in your phone's general settings. When prompted, click View, then click on the yellow triangle next to Sampling Sites on the screen. You should now be able to view the map, which should consist of many blue dots around the watershed. It may take a few seconds to load, and you may need to zoom out using the touch screen to view all sites. When viewing the map, it's important to note that the darker blue dot represents your current location. This dot will only show up if you have allowed the app to view your location. This dark blue dot does not represent a sampling site. However, the light blue dots do represent site locations. The next step is to find your sampling site on the map. A quick tip for doing this is to use your current location, which is that dark blue dot. Your site should be located very close to or even overlapping your location, since you will be out in the field when inputting data. When you click on a site, the site number will appear at the bottom of your screen. You can use this to make sure you have selected the correct site number. Once you have selected your site, slide up to see more information about the site and click on the Sampling Info button. Next, click Add and once again confirm that the site number is correct before proceeding. Add data by selecting each category and choosing from either a list of options that are given or by typing in the information. This will all be prompted depending on the parameter you are entering for. This should also mirror the field data that is recorded on the paper copy of the field data sheet. This slide shows an example of what the site information should look like when filled out. Notice that all of the parameters do not fit on a single screen, so you must scroll down to see each category. Once all of your field data has been entered, make sure to click the Submit button in the top right corner of the screen. Once the data has been submitted, you can double check that it went through by clicking on the site once again and confirming that the date and time matches the current date and time of your sampling event. The next section of the tutorial will now cover how to use the Field Maps app on an Android phone. Again, while this is very similar to iOS phones, make sure to follow the tutorial for your specific smartphone, as the directions differ slightly and the images provided follow the interface for that phone. To begin, once you are logged in, you will be redirected to a page that shows all of the Mill Creek Alliance's ArcGIS maps. As a volunteer, you should choose the Mill Creek Water Sampling Map. Once this map has been chosen, an alert will pop up asking you to choose your location preferences. Since it will be easier to locate your site on the map if your location is taken into account, it is recommended to select the Allow While Using App option. Location preferences can always be modified at a later date in your phone's general settings. You should now be able to view the map, which should consist of many blue dots around the watershed. It may take a few seconds to load, and you may need to zoom out using the touch screen to view all sites. When viewing the map, it's important to note that the darker blue dot represents your current location. This dot will only show up if you have allowed the app to view your location. This dark blue dot is not a site. However, the light blue dots do represent site locations. The next step is to find your sampling site on the map. A quick tip for doing this is to use your current location, which is that dark blue dot. Your site should be located very close to or even overlapping this dot, since you will be out in the field when inputting data. When you click on the site, The site number will appear at the bottom of the screen. You can use this to make sure you have selected the correct site number. Once you have selected your site, slide up to see more information about the site and then click on the Sampling Info button. Next, click Add and once again, confirm that the site number is correct before proceeding. Add data by selecting each category and choosing from either a list of options that are given or by typing in information. This should mirror the field data that is recorded on the paper copy of the field data sheet. When selecting the date, use the calendar provided when you click on the Date button. Make sure to click the gray check mark in the top right corner before proceeding to save the date. Use the same procedure to enter the time using the provided clock. This slide shows an example of what the site information should look like when filled out. Similar to the iPhone, notice that all of the parameters do not fit on a single screen, so you must scroll down to see each category. Once all data has been entered, make sure to click the gray checkmark button in the top right corner of the screen. Once the data has been submitted, you can double check that it went through by clicking on the site once again and confirming that the date and time matches the current date and time of your sampling event.
I hope you're not too overwhelmed by all of the information presented here today. Please remember that this and all other trainings are always available on our website, themillcreekalliance.org. In addition to the training materials, you can get copies of important forms, directions for the day of sampling operations, access to the lab volunteer availability schedule, and more. To access this, go to the water quality portion of the website, click Current Volunteers, and log in with the password Saturdays. Thanks so much for your time today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or even just a good joke, you can email me, Audra Roberts, at aroberts@themillcreekalliance.org. Thanks again, and have a great year.